Imagine that you're standing at the edge of a river Central Africa. You're focused on the lion pacing along the shore, but that's not the biggest threat in the area. The biggest danger is the water itself. More specifically, what's hiding just beneath that muddy surface, staring up, perfectly still, waiting for you, or the lion, to take one careless step closer. That shadow is the Nile crocodile, Africa's largest reptile and one of the most lethal ambush predators on the planet. Most people think of crocodiles as generic, big reptiles with teeth. But the Nile crocodile sits in a very strange family tree. It patrols freshwater lakes, rivers, swamps, and sometimes brackish lagoons across much of sub-Saharan Africa and even parts of Madagascar. Yet its closest genetic cousins aren't just other African crocs. DNA studies show it's more closely related to crocodiles in the Americas, like the American and Cuban crocodiles, than it is to the West African crocodile that shares its continent. So in evolutionary terms, this African predator is part of a global, long-distance family drama that stretches across the Atlantic. And within that reptilian clan, it's a giant, the biggest crocodile in Africa, and rival to the saltwater crocodile for the title of largest living reptile. Look at the Nile crocodile closely, and you can see exactly what millions of years of predation have sculpted. Its eyes and nostrils are perched high on the head, letting it breathe and scan the shoreline, while the rest of its body disappears under the surface. Its armor-plated skin is dark bronze to murky green, the perfect camouflage in still, muddy water. When it opens its jaws, you're seeing one of nature's most brutal clamping devices, a bite force strong enough to crush bone. Steel trap jaws designed not to chew, but to grab and hold. If a large animal gets too close, the croc lunges with shocking speed, locks on, and uses its weight and tail to drag the victim under. Once the struggle stops, the crocodile corkscrews its whole body in a violent death roll, ripping off chunks of flesh it can swallow whole. For most of the day, though, Nile crocodiles look almost lazy. They bask for hours with their mouths open, letting heat escape, or float motionless in the shallows like drifting logs. But that calm is deceptive. Studies have shown that even while they appear inert, crocodiles are constantly monitoring their surroundings, aware of every movement along the bank. At feeding sites, size decides almost everything. The biggest, most dominant crocodile eats first and takes the best position. Smaller individuals hang back, grabbing what's left or waiting for a moment to dart in. All of that lethality only matters because of what they eat, and the menu is broad. Young Nile crocodiles start small. Hatchlings feed on insects, tiny fish, frogs, and other invertebrates, skimming the surface or drifting through the shallows. As they grow, so does their appetite and their confidence. Juveniles move up to larger fish, water birds, and small reptiles, picking off anything they can overpower. Adult crocodiles unlock a completely different level of hunting. At full size, they can seize antelope at the water's edge, drag a zebra or wildebeest into deep water, and in some ecosystems even take down young hippos. Researchers analyzing stomach contents and feeding behavior have documented Nile crocodiles eating prey as large as wildebeest, the same animals that iconic African predators like lions and hyenas pursue on land. And they don't survive on fresh kills alone. In many river systems, Nile crocodiles act as aquatic scavengers. When a hippo dies, or when floods leave carcasses along the shore, dozens of crocodiles may gather and tear the body apart, filling the ecological role of vultures in the water. Now imagine sharing your daily water source with that kind of hunter. For millions of people, that isn't hypothetical. In much of rural Africa, rivers and lakes are everything. A place to fetch water, wash clothes, bathe, and fish. That constant human activity along the shoreline pulls people directly into crocodile territory. It's no accident that Nile crocodiles have such a terrifying reputation. One study estimated that they are involved in roughly 275 to 745 attacks on humans every year, and about two-thirds of those attacks are fatal. That's far more than any other crocodilian species, including the famous saltwater crocodile. And it makes Nile crocodiles arguably the most deadly wild predator of humans on Earth. Most attacks follow a similar script. Someone steps into the water to fish or wash, a crocodile that's been waiting near the bank lunges, and everything is over in moments. Smaller animals and smaller people can be dragged under and drowned by crocodiles that aren't even full grown. Larger adults are usually taken by the biggest individuals, massive reptiles that can top 5 meters in length. In local communities, that danger is part of daily life. In some districts near crocodile-rich rivers, officials have recorded double-digit human deaths from crocodile attacks in a single year, not counting the attacks that never make it into any formal report. And yet, for all their notoriety, Nile crocodiles are not simple villains. Their private lives are surprisingly complex. These animals don't even reach sexual maturity until around 12 to 16 years of age. When they do, females search for sandy riverbanks or exposed bars where they can dig nests. A single female may bury dozens of eggs in a deep hole, carefully covering them with sand and vegetation. What happens next almost feels like a different animal entirely. The same predator that can dismantle a zebra will stay near the nest for weeks, listening for tiny chirps from beneath the sand. When the hatchlings call, the female excavates the nest with surprising care and may even carry the babies in her mouth down to the water. She'll guard them in the shallows, ready to lunge at monitor lizards, birds, or other crocodiles that try to turn her young into snacks. In some populations, this parental care can last for months, but while we fear them, Nile crocodiles are the ones being squeezed by us. On paper, their global conservation status is least concern. There are still tens or even hundreds of thousands of individuals across Africa. In reality, the story is patchier. In the 20th century, intense hunting for crocodile skins hammered many populations. Even today, researchers in some South African lakes have found that past overharvesting, combined with continued persecution, has slowed recovery to a crawl. Now the threats have shifted. In many regions, the main dangers are polluted water, wetlands drained for farms or cities, and direct conflict with people who kill crocodiles after attacks. Some countries allow tightly regulated crocodile ranching or controlled skin trade under international agreements, trying to turn living crocodiles into an economic asset that communities want to protect rather than wipe out. So what do you do with a neighbor like this? An animal that is both ecologically important and undeniably dangerous. On the one hand, Nile crocodiles help keep fish and other wildlife populations in balance. They clean up carcasses, recycle nutrients, and act as the apex predators of rivers and lakes where almost everything else has to watch the shoreline. On the other hand, when your drinking water, your fishing livelihood, and your bath are all in the same river, just stay away from the edge, isn't realistic advice. In the end, the deadly Nile crocodile is a reminder that some parts of the natural world don't fit neatly into our ideas of good or bad. It's an ancient reptile more closely related to cousins across the ocean than to the crocodile next door. It's a devoted parent that will risk everything for its hatchlings, and an apex predator that likely kills more humans each year than any other large wild animal. If you ever find yourself beside a quiet African river, you might not see a single ripple. The water will look harmless. Birds will chatter in the reeds. Maybe you'll even see people washing clothes or casting nets. But somewhere along that muddy bank, a pair of green eyes could be just above the surface, watching and waiting. With the Nile crocodile, the deadliest part of the story is usually the part you don't see until it's already too late. Thanks for watching. Help us keep wildlife videos coming by liking and subscribing. And drop a note in the comment if you'd like to see a video about your favorite wild animal.